Oh, you got that one.
Well, good afternoon, good evening. I am Debra Lehrmann, and it is so good to be home. My husband graduated from Richland High School right down the street, where he was an Eagle Scout. Years ago, in the 80s and 90s, he was a precinct chair back when this county was still blue. He and I have been members of the Northeast Tarrant County Republican Party for over 20 years. And this year, we were so happy to have the annual Christmas party in our home for the 17th year. So it's good to be around really, really good friends. I have had the honor of serving on the Supreme Court of Texas since the governor appointed me in 2010, and the work is absolutely heavenly. I thank God for the privilege every day that I walk into that courtroom, and I thank God for the guidance to make sure that I apply the law properly. We have a very, very conservative court. We don't have 4 liberals and 4 conservatives and Kennedy in the middle going back and forth. We are committed to strictly interpreting the law in a manner that is done in such a way that we never legislate from the bench. After all, this is the court that allowed the voters of Houston to vote on the HERO ordinance, or what you may have heard of as the bathroom ordinance. We're committed, hardworking, we strictly apply the law, and we realize that consistency and predictability is essential to a thriving economy. We work well together, and for the first time in the history of the court, our backlog is down to 0. I am the only candidate in this race who is a constitutional conservative who has served on this court in that capacity, acting in that manner. I have repeatedly written that unambiguous text governs. I actually studied under Antonin Scalia and Samuel Alito at Duke School of Law, where I'm earning my LLM in judicial studies. I share Justice Scalia's philosophy, and the evidence of that is that his co-author on many of his books has asked me to edit his new book on legislative drafting. This past summer, we wrote an opinion called Patel, and it has to do with undue government regulation. There were regulations that eyebrow threaders had to go through 750 hours of training that had nothing to do with eyebrow threading. And we said that that was a violation of Texans' economic liberty. That's significant because the feds do not give as much protection to economic liberty as we do here in this state. I have 28 years of judicial experience. The problem with using legislative history is that if you ask 100 legislators why a particular statute was passed, you're going to get 100 different answers. But when in a particular case, two statutes were passed that were at odds, but there was a vote that was put on the floor, and it was unanimously voted on that statute meant X versus Y. That is an example of judicial restraint and is the opposite of judicial activism. There's a same-sex divorce matter. I had a conflict of interest that required me to recuse myself. I did so after receiving legal counsel. And any implication that this says anything about how I would have ruled on this case is pure silliness. And the proof of that is that I'm sitting on a same-sex divorce case right now before the court that I sit on, and if I had any underlying feelings about that as far as how I would rule, I would not be sitting on that case. My endorsements are great and wide. I have conservatives who have fully vetted both of the candidates. Senator Donna Campbell, supporter of American laws for American courts, Ann Hettinger, who is the director of Concerned Women of America, Pat Carlson, who's a past president of Eagle Forum, Texas Alliance for Life, Texans for Life Coalition, your vice president, Jana Easton, James Ashby, Tom Wilder, and many, many, many other conservatives here in this very wonderful community. The Texas Civil Justice League, the oldest and largest state legal reform organization in the state, many statewide conservative office holders, including State Senator Jane Nelson, United States Rep. Roger Williams, Kim Marchant, many others, the business community, including the Texas Association of Realtors, Independent Bankers Association. It goes on and on. I want to thank you all. I want to thank my family. Greg, who I met in law school 32 years ago. We have a wonderful marriage. We've lived in this wonderful community for many, many years. We have 2 sons who are in law school, and I want to thank my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, who are active members of this Tea Party, who've done so much with all of you, who help our community more than I can ever say. Thank you to Kathy. Thank you to Larry. God bless all of you. Debra Lehrmann for the Supreme Court of Texas.